Good evening. Good evening. We're going to try it again, guys. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays with LaQuinda and Yolanda, your favorite mental health therapists and funeral directors. We have a special guest tonight, and that is Amy Perez.
Hello.
Last week, some of you all were asking about trauma. And I think somebody specifically said that they were tired of talking.
Yeah.
And we began to share that EMDR was a treatment modality that could be used. So Amy's going to join us tonight and answer some questions. We're going to wait to let some people come in. Hmm. Let's see one person. One you might have to tag people.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
So the other one is saying live with restream. The one that we had 10
Yeah, I
minutes
saw
ago.
that.
It's still like it's like we're live. I'm gonna wave and see if it comes up. I think that's the one where it froze. But it won't even allow me to delete it.
That's weird. I am just tagging away. Let's see who shows up.
So when you start to type their name in, does it come up?
Mm-hmm. So I'll
Oh,
do the at sign and then start to type their name and then tap on it, and it shows up white.
I don't think I have the option to type in the chat.
oh, I'm just gonna put all followers. Wrong one.
Um, let's see. I type in the chat from my phone, Amy. Not.
Oh, okay. So you have it open through two different ones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think y'all say hi when you come in, so we'll know you're there. See if
Yes,
we have
please.
people to join.
I do feel like there's a delay, right?
You feel like there's a delay?
Yeah. Like when I bring it up on my phone.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay
Okay.
between the stream and if you're on another device.
And see, I deleted it, and for whatever reason, it's still showing up. Well, how was y'all's day?
It was pretty good, not too eventful, so that's always good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a Monday. But not a bad Monday, just a Monday. I'm tired for some reason.
Oh, I am too.
Yep. But it was a good day. So last week we had some really interesting dialogue. Um, Started off talking about, uh, what was this? How do we phrase the topic? Was it kind of like relationships in the holidays, basically? Um, but we kind of touched on a little bit of everything, and that's kind of how we got
Oh
here.
yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
is because we did have some guests who were dealing with um, estranged family relationships, which can be challenging during this time of year, even more so than any other time of year. And so, just kind of to recap on that, we just kind of talked about setting healthy boundaries. Um, because even though you may be lonely this time of year, you don't want to allow negative patterns, to start, or allow toxicity back into your life just for the sake of companionship. But we also talked about the importance of accepting people for who they are, and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Just not eliminating people completely from your life because of some negative traits. Just kind of figuring out how to navigate those relationships. Um, if there is anything salvageable in them, figuring out how to pull that and create a boundary that um, reduces your exposure to the negativity, but also still allows you to um, maintain a level of connection um, to those people in your life, because they do have value.
Hmm.
Nobody's all bad, nobody's all good. So, but in that conversation, um, we did have someone to respond that they were tired of talking. And sometimes it takes more than talking to get past things. And that's kind of where how we got to the EMDR conversation and talking about different types of therapy that go a little bit deeper than talk therapy. So
Hmm.
Hi Kina. Hi Elizabeth. Hi Crystal. Those are the ones that I can see. And if y'all want to ever come on and ask a question, you most certainly can ask to come on the screen and ask your question. We are definitely open to that.
hey, Crystal, and hey, Kina. And while we're talking, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, or if you have a comment, just put it in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer it to the best of our ability. Hey, Miss Bernita.
Hello, hello.
Thank y'all for joining us.
I don't know why my tagging is not working. So I'm going to share it to my page.
Okay. So, Amy, can you just are we ready to start, Yolanda, with her talking about NPR? Okay.
Mhm.
So, Amy, can you just kind of share a little bit about EMDR, what it is, how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So EMDR just stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And what that does is sometimes when we experience traumatic memories, for some people, they process, through our brain the way that they're supposed to. And then for some people, they kind of get stuck. So that makes them kind of like blocked or unprocessed. And then we start having, we can possibly have like physical or emotional like sensations or thoughts or beliefs regarding to our brain being stuck with this trauma. Um, and sometimes that can interfere with like our everyday life and our relationships and just things like that. Um, how EMDR works, it's basically just a guided imagery processing. Um, so, as a client who is doing this kind of therapy, the clinician guides you through it. So, you do a lot of the processing and the hard work yourself, and the clinician is there to kind of to guide you and support you through that. Um, and when I say guide you through it, how the processing works is with bilateral stimulation, which if you're doing in-person sessions with EMDR and you're at the processing stage of it or phase, they do eye movements. So you typically like follow their fingers and things like that. It's just whatever, there are different varieties or methods to get the bilateral stimulation to help your brain to process that memory that's stuck or that event that's stuck. And of course, the eye movements, which I said it can be done with fingers, or some facilities they have like a light bar, and the light bar, just the light goes back and forth instead of like following the clinician's fingers. That's the preferred method to do EMDR processing, but there's also other methods that can work and be beneficial as well. And some of those are. They're called tappers. You hold them in your hand and they vibrate like one side then the other side, so you're still getting the bilateral stimulation. It's just kind of gentle vibrations, I guess. So that's another way that it can be done. Another way would be with headphones, and it gives just little signals that alternate, so that's the bilateral movement as well for that. And then if you're trying to do EMDR processing through telehealth, for me personally, it's beneficial to do the shoulder tapping. So the clinician can guide you through, and then you get the bilateral stimulation this way. Because I've noticed if you're trying to do the eye movements through telehealth, sometimes it's not as effective because of the delay in time. And so, if you're able to get the client on beat with how they're supposed to do the tapping, that can work well in that sort. Um, another
Question.
Oh, is there a question?
Yeah. Well, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Can you tell us what it means? Like when you say stuck, can you kind of explain it?
Yeah. So, our brain, if it was to work like perfectly, let's say that you were experience like a tornado or some other sort of natural disaster. For some people, after like a few weeks or a few months, they still know that that happened to them, but they're kind of not, I guess, kind of fixated on it would be another term to use, to where you kind of keep going back to that event. Maybe you're having like flashbacks or dreams about it, or you may feel that you're still in that experience. So that's what it kind of means to be stuck, when you're unable to look at that experience um, and kind of feel okay about it. So if you're looking at the experience or talking about the experience and you're still kind of having a lot of like physical symptoms or overwhelming emotional symptoms and things like that, then I would say that you're kind of in that stuck process moment. And you just weren't able to process that as like a normal event that you would.
Okay.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Is
Okay.
there anybody else who has a question on here about what she's explained so far? What age would you start EMDR?
I mean, you can do EMDR for children. I prefer to work with kind of like older teenagers up to adult. But I mean, you can do, if you have specific training, you can do EMDR with children as well.
Okay.
And you mentioned a few times the bilateral movement. Can you kind of explain the importance of that or the purpose of that?
Yeah, so the bilateral movement helps your brain to be able to process that. So instead of it being stuck, what the bilateral movements do, as well as with the clinician guiding you through like where you're at in that moment of the processing and everything, with a combination of all those things, or with those two things, it's able to help your brain to process through that. And with that being said, with EMDR, I know that I think you mentioned some people said they really don't like talk therapy. And so that may make them a good candidate for EMDR, just because whenever you have that disruption in your system and, you're kind of unprocessed and things like that, you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to provide details to your clinician regarding what that experience was. Because I believe in some certain circumstances, that's what prevents people from being able to move forward from their trauma. They don't want to talk about it with anybody because, they may be embarrassed, or it was just like too much for them to, verbalize what happened. EMDR might be a good fit for them because they do a lot of processing internally. So your clinician is there to guide you through with the eye movements or whatever bilateral stimulation that you use. And they do a lot of the processing in their mind. The clinician checks in with them to see where they're at during the process to make sure that, the train's kind of on the track and it's moving. But you don't have to share any of the like specific details. It's more of just like a check-in to see like where you're at during the process.
Okay. Is your lady, the lady who was asking last week, is she on here, LaQuinda?
I do not see her on. I'm gonna text her.
Okay.
Is there anyone who you feel like would not be a good candidate for EMDR?
Yeah, I think that just to make sure that you are a good candidate, you do need to have a pretty good foundation of being able to cope. Because, of course, like working through anything, it can kind of be emotional for you. So you need to be able to cope and have a good set of like coping skills, like outside of your sessions and things like that. But that's definitely something you can work with your clinician on before you were to process any memories. So, I mean, you can go into therapy fresh, planning on, oh, I want to process my trauma. It just might take, several sessions to get you to the place where you need to be in order to process.
So EMDR is not something that you're going to jump right into.
Oh, absolutely not. No. It's like a phase system, I guess. You go through like certain phases, like information gathering, and then, like the history and stuff like that. Yeah. Because you want to make sure that you have that good foundation to make sure, that you're stable enough to process. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who has had like recent like suicidal thoughts or homicidal thoughts or anything like that, they probably wouldn't be appropriate for it at the time.
Okay.
And so we know some of the answers to these questions, but again, LaQuinda and I are not trained at EMDR, but we're asking some of the questions because y'all are a shy crowd tonight. And I want to make sure you get a good understanding.
So what's the typical treatment length for EMDR?
So it really just depends on each situation. I would say if you had probably only like one or two events to process, and they weren't, I guess, like big traumas, it would take a lot less time. So typically, you want to, of course, you try to get one event processed per session, I guess, once you get into the processing stage.
Mhm.
But that's not what happens always. So sometimes it may take one or two sessions just to process one event. It kind of just depends on if there's any like hiccups during the session, and things like that, or just kind of how things are processing. So I would say at least one session per event that you want to process. And then, of course, you have the stages working up to being able to process. That's going to be a few sessions as well, just depending on like where you're at on your journey.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions for Amy? Because I promised her that I would not keep her long. She's in a different time zone.
Hey, Charlotte. And as always, if you have any specific questions about EMDR you don't want to ask in the chat, you can always send us a message on Messenger, or you can send us an email at info@resolutionsbhs. Is that right, Yolanda? Am I getting it right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. info@resolutionsbhs.com, and we definitely will be happy to answer your questions. And Amy does consultations, so if it's something that you saw tonight or heard and you're interested in it, you can call the office at 870-305-1221 and set up a consult with her.
And I do feel like EMDR is kind of a different modality of therapy. So I feel like it's one that it's kind of hard to understand with explaining. It's more when you kind of have to, I don't want to say necessarily experience, but maybe do like a little bit of research on your own. Because there's all kinds of like videos out there to kind of give you like more of a visual, I guess, to see if you think it may be something that's right for you.
Everybody that I know who has used it, they seem to benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you use IFS?
I do not. Mm-mm.
All right. Well, I mean, do you have anything else for us?
Trying to see. I don't think so. I think I went over pretty much all the strong points. Does anyone else have any questions?
I don't. Just thank you for the information. That was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
All right, well, we are going to let Amy get off and we're going to continue our discussion. Or, I mean, unless you just want to stay on. And like I said, I know you're in another time zone,
Yeah.
that I would not keep you long.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I'll go ahead and head off. And then, like you said, if anybody has any questions that y'all are unable to answer, you can always just text me, um,
okay.
and I'll try to respond in a timely manner.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good
All right.
night, Amy. So that was helpful. I think it is important for people to know there are different types of therapy. Um,
Mhm.
I do think that talking is important, because in some cultures, especially ours, talking is not always something that we are allowed to do growing up. And I think because of that, a lot of times we are adults, but we lack emotional maturity and we lack the ability to communicate effectively, um, because we weren't allowed to, like, we got everything else. All learning is a process. And I think it's the same with emotional learning and communication. And so we don't get a chance to practice sometimes until we are adults in a relationship. So for that reason, I think talk therapy
Mhm.
extremely important, because that's sometimes the only safe space that we have to express our thoughts and feelings, or kind of sure, Charlotte. Hey, Belinda. Um, um, allowed to, just really talk about what we feel and just process that with someone who can give us objective, but constructive feedback.
Mhm. Definitely.
But sometimes, that was Liz texting me that. Sometimes you need more than that. Um, Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Were you saying that in our culture, like sometimes we aren't given the opportunity to talk, and so when we become adults, it's difficult to deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and when you're a kid, it's like stay in a child's
Stay
place.
in a child's place, shut up, I wasn't talking to you. Or
Hmm.
like a lot of times, um, parents don't, if something happens, you don't give your child a chance to express how they feel. Um,
Mm.
and I know it can be challenging at times, but you don't give them a chance to say what they were thinking, like, why did you do that? Or, you know, what are you feeling? Like, they never get a chance to verbalize that. And sometimes it's because we don't know how to, we don't know we should. And sometimes we wouldn't know what to do with the information anyway. You know what I mean? Because we didn't see that and experience that. And so it's hard to be something that you've never seen sometimes.
But sometimes just listening, and if you're a parent and you don't know what to do with it, just listen and then just say thank you for sharing it with
But and that's why I think these types of conversations are important, so that parents can learn that, because we know that now, but there was a time in our lives when, we didn't know that.
you. Hmm.
A lot of us didn't know that. And so, um and I think not only just saying thank you for sharing, it's okay to tell your kids, "Oh, I don't really know, I don't understand, or that doesn't make sense to me because I don't see it that way, but I'm going to try to see it from your perspective," or, come to a mutual understanding that they're allowed, right or wrong, they're allowed to feel what they feel. Sometimes you can't have, I understand that's why you feel that way, but this is how it has to be, type of thing. But again, it goes back, I think, to emotional maturity and learning to communicate.
Yes. So I want to know, this holiday season, has anybody been so stressed that it's made them like physically sick?
Hey, Cleveland. So the question was, has anybody been stressed to the point of feeling physically sick?
Mhm.
Stressed, worried, anxious, or depressed?
Mhm. Where you just don't want to do anything, interact with anybody, um, those types of things. Anybody? Or have you ran into any friends or family members who have experienced that? And if so, how have you supported them or yourself? Shakila says no. Bernita, are you still on? Have you? What about you, Miss Rosita? I think LaQuenda had to step away so she.
I'm back. So if you haven't, how are you managing that? Like, the holidays can be this time of year stressful anyway. So how are you managing? Like, what are you doing to prevent from being um stressed or anxious or depressed?
I don't know about y'all, but this year I have ran into more people who have just said they are not in the spirit. Um, they don't want anything. They just really want to be with their family. And I think we have to remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. It's
Yeah.
not gifts. Um, it really. I always take the last year of the week of the last week of the year to reflect and to get prepared for the next year.
Yeah, I'm in the no holiday spirit gang. Like, it's not that I'm not, grateful or, anything like that. I don't know. The it is, about Christ, but I think it's been so commercialized until it's just like, mm, I don't know. I'm just not. The energy is gone. Like, the joy of it is gone. Um, I don't know. You start to lose family, and family spreads out, and it's just.
So what do you do to just kind of enjoy those days? Because I know as an educator, you're going to be off for a couple of
Mhm.
and then parents, if you have children, they'll be out of school for a couple of weeks. So how do you take that negative and turn it into a positive?
So we still do like our, things that we always do, or that we've been doing. Like, we still do the gingerbread houses. We still cook.
Okay.
Um, we'll still, like, we're gonna go. We're planning to go to the movies this year on Christmas Day. Um, so we still find things to do, but it's not like the typical Christmas stuff. It's more just like being together stuff more so than holiday stuff. Um, and that's fine. Like I said, it's not still grateful, still gonna enjoy family, but it's not like a holiday type of enjoyment. Um, Tina said, I've heard several people say they're not in the spirit and it's due to deaths in the family. Yeah, I think that's what kind of triggered my lack of holiday joy was just, you know, deaths around the holidays in the past. And so it's just become, it's already a gloomy time of year.
Mhm.
And that just kind of put even more of a dark cloud over it for me, as far as just like, I think my focus has shifted from celebrating a holiday to just being mindful to celebrate life and enjoy family, all the time, not
Mm,
just around a holiday.
yeah. I think this is probably like the first year that I was like, I don't want anything. I just want to be with my kids. I just want to be with my family. That's
Yeah,
all I want.
and that's how it's been for me for the past few years. Um, and I'll be honest, one thing that I struggle with is the gift guilt. I'll call it that. Like,
Mhm.
because it's so commercialized, it's like, oh, I need to, like, everybody that I love or that means something to me, I have this guilt, or I struggle with this sense of guilt of like, oh, I need to get them something. And then the other part of me is like, but I try to show them that, they're important to me all the time. So why should I buy them a gift? It's
Mhm.
just kind of like that battle of should I get them something? You should get them something. What if they get you something and then you haven't gotten them anything? Like it's that whole battle. Like, are they gonna think that you don't care about them? It's that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I just, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that has that struggle. And to me that adds to the yeah, Mr. Nita can relate. It adds stress in a sense of the holidays.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll just be over it.
I don't really have that struggle this year. So
Have
I
you had it before?
I have. I
Yeah.
have. I've had it before, but I don't have it this year. And I have not bought anything. Like I have not
Mhm.
even bought my kids anything.
Yeah. I think I
I
could.
will. I mean, I guess I will at some point, but I think I bought them some earmuffs, and I had to get Avery some clothes, and so whatever extra just went under the tree. But
Yeah. Yeah, it does, Miss Renita. It kind of it steals the joy a little bit because you're so engulfed in trying to gift everybody that means something to you. Um, I haven't gotten anything either, and my kids are like, oh, they don't. I mean, I have older kids, so they're like, I said, y'all might just be ordering y'all stuff for Christmas, and they're like, okay. Uh, but they're at the age where they understand, and they've expressed we get stuff all the time, so
yes,
it's not a big deal to them, whether or not there's something under a tree, like you know.
for sure. Is anybody fatigued because of the stress of the holidays? Is anybody experiencing more of that?
As Bernita
Oh,
said,
I like
she
to do
say
that.
pull from the angel tree and make that their Christmas. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now I did do that. I got angel tree stuff, and I hadn't gotten anything for my own kids. Um, and I think that's something that's important.
Yeah, it is.
So we always talk about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Um, we always talk about what are you most looking forward to during the holidays. Is there anybody that's willing to share what they are least looking forward to during this time of year? Because it can be, full of challenges. It's not just joy and holly jolly and Christmas carols. Some people really, really struggle this time of year.
Mm.
So can anybody share what you're least looking forward to, or maybe, dreading? Is there anything that you are concerned about having to face over the holidays?
Hmm. That's a good question. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you like this: is there anybody who knows there's a family member that's gonna come home for the holidays that you really struggle with interacting with
Mm,
for one reason or another? If so, do you need some tips to be able to handle them this year? Nobody wants to say they think their family might
nobody's
be watching.
saying it's a safe space.
Right. You don't have to name names.
Miss Bernita said, I think there's always that moment where I think about those people who aren't with me anymore. So I dread that even though I snap out of it, just knowing I'll probably have the moment makes me anxious or dreadful. Yeah. Um, for me, I'm dreading Christmas Eve. I can't lie. Um, that was the last Christmas Eve was very, very, very difficult. And so I am not looking forward. Um, and I'm trying not to, go to just like a negative place, but you know, that those first are always, difficult. And so this will be the anniversary. And so, just playing back in your head, what you could have done differently, and how everything transpired. I'm not looking forward to that.
Are you gonna try to get out of town that day?
No, because I have a speaking engagement.
Oh. Yes. Oh, it's on Christmas Eve.
No, no, it's not. It's New Year's Eve. I'm tripping. That's New Year's Eve. No, I am. Well, I am going to. No, I don't have anything planned. I'm getting my times mixed up. I don't have anything planned. I don't have anywhere to go that day.
Maybe
So
you should go somewhere that day and like just not be in town if that's an option. You're welcome to
we
come.
may do that. We may do that. We may do that. Um, we may. Because I just need to be distracted, and that's one of the reasons we're getting out of the house Christmas Day. So we may look at doing something Christmas Eve too.
Bernita said, "Do you think being out of town helps?" I do.
Yeah,
Think it
de-
will help.
definitely.
Because if the bad memory is where you are and you're already struggling, then
Yeah,
yeah, change your environment.
yeah. Quila said most definitely, but I'm actually excited because this will be our first Christmas ever. I didn't know that. She's always been gone on Christmas. She be in and out so fast, baby. I can't keep up. So that's exciting. So this will be the first Christmas since when? Like since you were young? Um, while I'm waiting for Shaquila to answer, I do agree with Miss Bernita being out of town helps. That's one of the reasons that our family changed our Thanksgiving tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We were so used to doing things one way, and then when we started losing family members, it became more sad than enjoyable, and
Mm-hmm.
so we decided to change our to switch it up. And I think that's important. Sometimes you have to give yourself permission to do things differently because um, it no longer serves the purpose that it used to. And that goes for a whole lot of things besides holiday gatherings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to switch it up because things no longer serve the purpose that they used to.
And so, at what point do you just say, okay? And at what point do you know that it's no longer serving the purpose?
Um. Oh man, Quila. She said yes. Unfortunately, I can't ever remember a holiday with her, not even when we were little. Oh, so everything goes well. I know you're gonna lay it all out. I'm gonna just take care of you in the meantime. Um, so can I share a little background, Quila? I won't say too much, just to kind of explain um what you're talking about. Um, or you can put it in the chat, whichever you're comfortable with, or neither. So for me, it's time to change it up when it starts to feel heavy, right? When leading up to it, you're kind of dreading it, you're sluggish instead of when you used to be excited about it, and now it's more of a chore.
Mm-hmm.
Feels more like a burden than a joy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when you're so relieved when it's over, or you're so stressed when it's going on, you can't enjoy it, and then when it's over you're relieved and drained, instead of how you leave some things and you're fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? It made you're smiling and laughing thinking about it, but instead of that you're like, I'm glad that's over, I hate I had to do it. You know what I mean? It just leaves a negative um feeling. I feel like when you start to have those thoughts and feelings, it's time to look at doing something different.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, Quila said it's okay to share. So this will be Quila's first holiday with her biological mother.
Okay.
So, the relationship has been tumultuous. I'll say that, with she and her siblings and their mother, but
Mhm.
they spend their first Christmas together. So I'm excited for her, y'all. Pray that everything goes well and they make some good, positive memories.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think that is and hopefully this will be the first of many for them. First of many.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to me the important lesson is that is not giving up on people, because she has done enough for her children to give up on her, but they don't.
So they extend her grace.
They do.
That's
Sometimes grace with distance. I
mm-hmm.
say, Shaquille, if I'm wrong, correct me. Sometimes grace with distance, sometimes distance, just distance, but it always comes back around to grace.
Mm. Those two, grace and shift,
Mm-hmm.
are the spiritual words that have been coming up in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
like shifting attitude, shifting your focus, shifting what you allow and what you don't allow.
yeah, And I think that's so important that, this is shifting, giving ourselves permission to shift. And I think this is the perfect time of year to do so. I'm not big on New Year's resolutions. Like, I feel like we should constantly be resolving to be better and do better. But I
Mm.
think this is the perfect time to, as we shift out of one calendar year into the next, it's the perfect time to start to shift your mindset, shift your ideas, shift your expectations,
Yep.
shift your boundaries, and just start to move in a healthier direction. Like, we, most of the time, we know what's not working for us, but we're so used to the dysfunction, to the chaos, just to the pattern. Even when we don't like it, we continue to do it because it's what we're used to.
Yeah,
Um,
you just continue to hold on because it's too uncomfortable for you to try
yeah,
something.
yeah. It's so uncomfortable to do.
Time, if you push and if you try something different that is uncomfortable and you go back over your life, it's evidence to show that that's better
Yeah.
than
And
we're holding on and staying with.
and ultimately, if you do shift and it doesn't work for you, how hard is it to go back to what you've always been doing?
Right.
You can always go back, but what if the shift makes it better?
Or what if you miss your window of opportunity?
Because you weren't willing to shift.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it may come back around, but how long are you gonna make yourself, how long are you gonna stay in a situation that you didn't have to be in, because you weren't willing to try something new?
Hmm. Yep.
And a lot of times I think we're afraid to shift, not so much because of us, but because of the expectations of other people. Like, we're afraid of what they're gonna think, um, what they're going to say, how they're going to feel, also how it's going to affect them. Like, how is our shift going to make them uncomfortable? Because a lot of times people are dependent on us staying in cycles.
Hmm.
Even when the cycle doesn't work for us, we stay because it works for somebody else. And so we don't want to make them uncomfortable or push them out of, a certain space,
Hmm.
or inconvenience them. And so we stay in cycles that don't work for us because they work for other people.
So you said two things that I want to comment on, and then I want to ask Bernita what she was talking about. She said, "Great point." You said, "Oh, I lost my train of thought." People being, sometimes we don't shift because we're caring about the person and how it might affect them. So I think, out of consideration, I mean, I can understand that, but how do we get away from worrying about what other people think, what society thinks, and their expectations? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they think. They're gonna think what they want to think anyway.
Mhm. I think the way that we get away from that is just really being honest with ourselves and taking a look um at our track record, or the way things trend, right?
Hmm.
um, if you step back from that feeling and just examine things and say, okay, how many times did I make a decision based on what somebody else thought, and then they changed their mind after I was stuck with the consequences of it, right?
Hmm.
You just really have to do some internal examination and then just look at how fast people change their minds. But also, you have to um, give yourself permission to make yourself the priority and say, okay, even if they disagree, what do I want? Because you're the one that has to live with all decisions. Other people can come and go. And so, you just have to make sure what you're doing is something that you can sustain. It's a decision that you're comfortable with, regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. Because you're the only one that has to live with it.
The only one, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how much they dislike it, dislike your decision, they'll get over it. And no matter how much they like it, they'll get over it. But
Yep.
you're the one that's stuck.
Bernita, what were you talking about when you said great point? Despite my good day, LaQuinta, I think I'm like you with this Monday afternoon blues. I was so sleepy yesterday. And I've been so sleepy all day at work. But I
Okay.
had a really good day.
You could miss your window of opportunity by not shifting. Yeah. Oh, I had such a lazy weekend and I loved every minute of it. I can't say lazy, restful.
I'm
And I don't get those.
it.
I don't get those often. Yolanda, I stayed in bed till like 1 o'clock Saturday.
If I can make it past Monday, it is so over.
Listen. But yeah, so it's important that we do not get so caught up in the expectations of others. Social media is such a gift and a curse. Um, but it's how you use it, right? You can
Mhm.
use it as motivation, or you can use it as an excuse to minimize what you have. I saw a young lady um, post. She's always sharing something wise, but she said something along the lines. Her name is Nicole Knight. But she said something today, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically like social media can have you um, sad about a wonderful life or something along those lines. And it's so true because we look at the highlight reels from other people's lives,
Mhm.
not knowing their reality. Um,
Right.
and we see their filtered highlights, and it causes us to feel bad about our real life. And so
Mhm.
you're disappointed in your because you drive a Honda,
Mhm.
but they leasing a Mercedes and living in a rental property. You know what I mean? Like there is nothing wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what they want to do. But there's nothing wrong with you owning your Honda in your home. You know what I mean? Like there is no one right way to live your life. You do what works for you, but we get so focused on what other people are doing until we allow it to steal our joy.
But I think it's been glorified though.
It has been.
Things and luxury has been glorified.
It
And I
has.
just like nice things like everybody else.
Yeah. And I like nice things too, but if the nice things that fit in my budget are not Gucci and Chanel,
Mhm.
that's
Say it one more time. You broke up.
I just said I like nice things too, but if the nice things that fit in my budget are nice, but it's not Gucci or Chanel, then
Mhm.
that's okay too.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes people will feel bad because they can't meet a standard that's set on social media, but sometimes the standard that's set isn't.
It's not real. I'm gonna say it for you because you froze. It's not real. Let me text her. And I think, going into the new year, how people come up with phrases and different things. I think this year one of the things was I was sleeping on myself and I'm woke, but now I'm woke. I have a sweatshirt with that on there. Um, okay, she's gonna leave and come back. Each person should have their own standard. Realistically, yeah, you should. Yep, I agree. Um, I was on my phone the other night and I was just looking at some clothes or whatever, and I said, you know what, I'm finna just do me. And my husband was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, we're in Southeast Arkansas, and so I've always felt like because of what I do for a living, I have to dress a certain way. And I was like, I'm just gonna do me. I'm 42 years old. They can like it or not. Oh yeah, the old phrase, keeping up with the Joneses. Well, if the Joneses got the money to pay for what they have, that's fine. Keep up, and I'm gonna use my last name. If the Martins can keep up with the Joneses, go for it. But if the Martins can't keep up with the Joneses, then they need to try to keep up with the Martins.
Can you hear me now?
uh, yep, and you're clear.
I logged in. I'm gonna try to get back in on the computer. I logged in on the phone, but I
Uh,
can't.
Hold on, I'm gonna add you.
Okay. Not sure what. Well, I don't. I had internet problems. Um.
Yeah, Bonita said, well, I always say it ain't nothing to it but a name, honey. That's right.
Right. And so, back to what I was saying, I have nothing against designer if that's what you want or not, whatever you consider nice. I just, you know, want us to keep in mind that that's not the definition of a good life. Like your good life doesn't have to look like someone else's good life or fulfilled life, or you know what I mean?
Hmm. I think we all have to define what our good life is, and
Right.
we should not be worried about what the next person has. So I'm gonna challenge each of you to come up with your own phrase for 2024 as it relates to just walking in who you are.
Hmm. Just you set the standard for what you want your life like. I personally I like nice things, but I don't have to have designer everything. Like I feel like I could put something on from Walmart and give the best of them a run for their money on my good days. Now my bad days, baby, so the flow. But
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't take a label to make me look good. Um,
Now I have some labels, but I'm right along with you because I would definitely go to Walmart and get me some dresses, and
yeah,
nobody, you'll never know the difference.
right, exactly. And so that's what I want us to free ourselves of. If we have that mindset that it has to be, a certain thing or a certain um brand or a certain. I know that's right. I can only do what my pockets allow me to do.
Yes, yes.
Listen,
Hey,
because the
Santoria.
pockets, but because the pockets definitely set the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So I want us to free, and I mentioned designer labels as an example, but sometimes it's expectations of family members that's, determining whether or not we live a good life. Like somebody felt like we should have had a career or a different mate, or we should live in a different place, or a different whatever it is.
Oh, good part. Live in a different place. I
And
am just fine with the city that I live in, and if
me too.
you don't have to live here.
Right, right, right. And so, we allow other people to set um, certain standards, or try to put us in certain parameters of what our lives should and should not look like. And we have to free ourselves of that. Because even when you've gotten to the place where you don't adhere to it, it's still irritating to hear. Like it can still create stress and anxiety, because now you got to deal with Aunt Bertha, who always asking you when you gonna have a baby, or when you gonna have a man, or why you leave your husband. Girl, why you leave the phone you left? You know what I mean? And so we have
I
to.
think at a certain age, women should not ask other women that. I think it's a question that we ask so freely, but you don't know what that woman is going through to
The
be
baby.
single. When are you going to have kids? Or
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a sensitive subject, so
it is.
I try to be mindful of that.
Yeah, because why is it your business anyway? What you gonna do?
Mhm.
You babysitting? Like, what are you going to do? Why does it matter to you? I think that even when we're curious about certain things, we got to learn not to ask. I've made that mistake before and asked, and then found out later that they had been pregnant and miscarried, and felt a whole fool, because while I didn't mean any harm, you know
Right.
you never know what that will trigger. Now, some people ask it in a nasty way, like, you know what I'm saying, or comment in a nasty way, like almost demanding you need to go and have another baby, or you don't know what I need to do. You know
Hey,
what I
girl.
mean? Yes, leave people's ovaries alone. The government is trying to take over enough. Yes, do what's best for your address. I know that's right.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
Kendra
Oh,
said,
y'all, on Wednesday we are going to be live at the office. So Wednesday is our open house, our holiday open house. So if you're in town, please come by. It's from 11:30 to 1. We have some wonderful door prizes, and she doesn't know it yet, but our practitioner is going to be answering some questions.
hmm. I looked because I'm like, what? I feel like a setup was coming.
No, remember Liz said she would do
Yeah.
it. I just
Okay.
asked.
Yeah. Oh, Kendra, it was better. One and done. Um,
That's funny.
one and done. But Kendra mentioned confidence, being the best accessory.
Mhm.
Um, and it is. And you have to have enough confidence to say no when you need to say no, to set boundaries that work for you, and to eliminate toxic people from your life. And you got to have enough confidence to shift when it's time to shift. When that spirit within you starts to give you that little nudge, like, okay, this enough, you know.
But I truly believe, like, if you look good, you'll feel good. So
Yeah.
even on your bad days, I saw this in the dressing room the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta take a picture."
What to say? No matter how you feel. What does it say?
No
Get up.
matter how you feel, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. That was
Right.
dressing room at Gypsy's old, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. And you know, that's something that I practice, like even still when I'm not feeling it, I try to dress up. Like
Mm-hmm.
I try to pull myself together a little bit more on the days when I'm just really not dressed. Because if I feel down and I dress down, oh, I'm not getting anything accomplished.
Yeah.
Nothing accomplished. It's over.
Okay, well, y'all, next week, we will not be on here on Monday because that is actually Christmas. But we do have a special treat for you on Wednesday. Um, so come on by 11:30. So
Miss Bernita said y'all always have an open house when people at work.
well, I mean, I don't know about having it in the afternoon. Come on your lunch break.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
We are going to have a couple of mental health seminars next year, like on a Saturday, so people can participate. So,
Mm,
yeah.
that's news. Thank you, Miss Bernita, for joining us and talking with us.
Yes.
We're
Yeah,
going.
we can go live for open house for a little while. Just because I want people to be educated on certain medications. I
Yeah,
think it's misconception. And so I feel like if Liz can come on and talk and just kind of break it down, I think it'll shed some light on some things.
yeah. And I know we did have a specific question about weaning off of Adderall that we need to make sure gets answered.
Oh, okay.
That was asked in a previous live.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we'll definitely be getting those questions. If y'all have anything that y'all want answered, please send it. You can message me on Facebook or what's going on with my throat? You can message me on Facebook or send an email to info@resolutionsbhs.com. You can text 870-500-2324. That's our work cell number, and we definitely will try to get all answers.
Can you put those in the chat, Yolanda?
I sure can.
Thank you, Kendra. Yeah, so if y'all have specific questions about medication, um, make sure you send those and so that she can answer them on Wednesday.
Oh, she said that's lunch for her. Okay. Now, so if you call, oh, that's not right. So if you call that number 870-500-2324, you're gonna reach the office during business hours. If you call it after hours, you're gonna get the answering service. Um, and if you're in crisis, you'll need to hit 3. If you're our client and you're in crisis, you'll need to hit 3. But I have it, and so I periodically will check it if you just have a question. So that's why I say you can text that number. And you can always message us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because LaQuinda, she has access to the Facebook page too, so she can answer questions on there also.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, stress is real,
Mm-hmm.
and it will kill you.
It's a definite killer.
It is a slow, quiet killer. And so we do these because we want people to be informed and educated, and just to let you know that you have an outlet. Sometimes you just need to talk and get it out and have a good cry. Sometimes you need to learn some adaptive strategies.
Sometimes you just need to know that you're not the only one that's going through things.
Mm-hmm.
Safe space to
Yep.
see and hear from other people.
Yep. And I can guarantee you, LaQuinda and I, now I can't speak for any other therapist, but we have had
Practice something.
oh, I was picking up something.
Oh,
LaQuinda and I have had our fair share of life experiences, okay? And so we've lived it. So
hmm,
that's how we can say, hey, well, this works. So,
yeah. We'll never be the ones to tell you that we have it all together. Like we, but that's why we're willing to share our experiences, is because we know that, we lean on each other a lot. And so um, we don't get through this without having a support system. And so, as much as we can, we are willing to be, a support system to those of you who join us. But we also want to extend to you resources so that
mm,
you can build, a support system. Because this is good, and for some, this may be enough, but for others, you need something deeper. And so, we just want to make you aware that you do have options.
yep, we do. Lavonda, thank you for joining us. I think this is my first time seeing you on. So I just want to tell everybody that came on tonight, thank you so much. We'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank
Y'all
you,
have a good
everybody.
night.
Did we address everything, Yolanda? We got all the comments.
I think so. Don't forget, y'all still can share it, like and share it.
Love you, cousin.
We are each angels, but with one wing and can fly. Can only fly holding each other. Oh, that's
That's a good
good.
one. Yeah.
That's good, Kendra. Thank you for sharing that.
I heard that, Miss Bernita.
But she said I didn't see yours.
She said, I love my therapist. She rocks.
Oh,
But thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank y'all for supporting this. Y'all know we didn't know what we were getting into when we started this, but it's a joy. It really is. It's a joy for me.
me too. All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful night.